begin first by what is solo travel. So solo travel is basically just taking a trip on your own. It can be anywhere, it can be a short weekend trip, it can be months, it can be years like me, but it's basically just traveling on your own. So if you guys are thinking of taking a trip solo, you're a little bit scared, I know I was exactly where you were, but this video is supposed to help you guys get comfortable with the idea, start your journey, especially if you're just nervous and shy and scared, then this should give you the confidence that I needed to get started as well. So I always knew that I wanted to solo travel. It was something that I was super passionate about. I wanted to be a travel blogger initially, but I knew that it would take certain steps to get there and that I would need a full-time job to make sure that I would be able to sustain myself. But however, my first solo trip was actually a 3-month trip to the States, and this was super exciting, super fun. I had an amazing experience. I was working at a camp in America and I made so many friends and I saw so much of the world, and in fact it kind of ignited the spirit within myself to travel more, as I knew that the world had so much more to offer. I mean, probably what my biggest takeaway when I was traveling is that the more you travel, the happier you are. So whatever situation you're in, maybe you want to escape the routine, maybe you want to escape a bad relationship, a bad friendship, traveling is just the perfect reset moment for you. I mean, when I was solo traveling, I was in such a bad rut. Like, I was at university, so I was drinking so much alcohol. I was always drunk, I was always smoking, I was doing everything awful, and I knew that I needed to reset my life in some way. So I booked myself the trip as like a sabbatical. I was going to be alone 3 months in Indiana, which is like hell for someone who loves the party girl lifestyle. So I just wanted to leave the party girl lifestyle behind and do something that's not only rewarding, but to also reconnect with nature, as I'm super outdoorsy. As you can expect, my first trip, I made so many mistakes. Like, I made an insurmountable amount of mistakes on my first solo trip. So I'm going to talk you guys through them so that you guys don't make these mistakes. So number one, straight out the bat, I missed my plane on my first trip. I missed my plane because I was unprepared. I did not have the right documents that I needed to pass the border in America. So the US didn't let me in. What I didn't know is that I had a biometric pass. As someone who was Zimbabwean living in England, I needed my biometric pass, which is actually in my old passport. So my old passport was in Nottingham, which is where I went to university, and my flight was in London. So this was like a 2-hour drive. However, we managed to actually make the trip. Like, my poor mom, bless her heart, she drove me to Nottingham on the same day, and we drove to get my passport, which was actually still in a scanner from the library. And we got my passport back, and we had to pay a brand new ticket on the day. So it was a super expensive mistake. So if you are traveling, please have a list of every single document that you need. Check visa entry requirements. Make sure that you double check, because trust me, you do not want to pay £700 on the day of your flight just because of one mistake. So really and truly over prepare. For every single trip that I have now, I make sure that I over prepare. Just even like, I still have all of my COVID jabs, which they don't need anymore, but just in case that they need them, just make sure that you have every single possible thing. So tip number 2 that I have, which should actually be used in conjunction with the first tip, is to research as much as possible on where you are going. That way you'll know what to pack, what kind of people you're going to meet, the expectations, just to make sure that you're not going to offend anyone. I mean, I was lucky that my first trip was to the US. If my trip was actually in Thailand or Bali, I might have offended them, by going against their religion or by speaking out of line. As genuinely in Thailand, there are some phrases that you cannot say, especially speaking out against other people, or you will be arrested. Similarly in Dubai as well. I didn't actually research a lot of the language when it comes to the US, as I assumed that it was all very similar. So like I said, back then I was a smoker, and in England we actually call cigarettes fags. So I was walking around America, saying fag, like, does anyone have a fag? However, in America, this is actually a hugely offensive and derogatory term. So I made enemies extremely quickly, because people just couldn't understand the way that I spoke. British people tend to be more vulgar, we swear a lot, so just be careful of that. Research the type of people that you're going to be seeing, any offensive terms, especially if you're British. Search something like British person in the US, or right now I'm in Costa Rica, so British person in Costa Rica, because it's worth checking, especially if you want to make connections here. Next mistake that I made, and I'm actually still working on this, but I did overpack. I made so many assumptions about what I was going to wear. Essentially, I was going to work at a camp, but I overpacked and I just bought all these coats that I wouldn't even be wearing. Like, why I bought several coats for summer in the US, and it's something that people just assume that you need, but one coat is just enough. I love to check on Pinterest. They have so many amazing boards that give you good packing tips for whichever destination you're going for. This will also help you save money on any suitcases or any baggage cost or anything like that. Trust me, you do not want to be the girl who has way too much baggage at the airport. Although this is literally me, I had strap marks on here from my all of my baggage, so be careful of that. Please do not weigh yourself down. I mean, the worst thing that I had for me was lugging this huge suitcase, up all of the hills of San Francisco. After I finished my work, I got to travel and I had all these bags, and I was trekking, I was doing all of these activities with bags that just weren't necessary. So if you can, try and get like the regular backpacker's backpack. Trust me, it's a lot easier, especially on different terrains, a lot less obvious that you are a foreigner, especially if you're a woman. You want to avoid looking vulnerable. This will lead up to my next point as well. So my point is that when I did travel, I was 19, so I was extremely naive. I assumed that everyone that I spoke to was a friend, someone that I would who wouldn't be out to hurt me. But you do not know anyone, and you do not have to talk to anyone. And in fact, if you are a solo woman traveling on your own and a male does approach you, I just advise that you do not speak to them. I have been tricked by people who you assume to be helpful, you assume to be mature, but a lot of them have bad intentions, especially if you're a solo woman. So never reveal where you're staying, never tell them that you're traveling alone. Always tell your friends where you are, and of course, don't make yourself vulnerable. This can only be, done in this cannot always be achievable in all situations. For example, when I had my big pink suitcase, walking around in San Francisco, I attracted a lot of unwanted attention. I had men sort of walking up to me, and they got really, really intimidating, and I had no idea how to handle the situation. And it was hot, and I had my suitcase, so of course, just be cautious of that. Try and move around in groups if you can, or just get Ubers to places that you don't know, especially if they're foreign. Just be careful as a woman. You're already brave for doing this, but try and avoid, walking at night time, being on your own, long journeys with heavy suitcases, and just practice extra caution. Now, in conjunction, if you are a male, of course, you might not have as much danger. However, I do advise that you guys still practice caution. I had a handbag with me that I stupidly brought with me on my first trip. It was like an open handbag, and sadly, I was actually robbed. I was in LA. I was I was at the pier, and my bag was open, and through that, someone stole my mobile phone and my wallet. So yeah, it was one of the worst experiences that I have ever gone through, and I imagine that this is not just subject to women. So if you are a male as well, try and walk around with either backpacks, secure your items. Yeah, it was one of the most devastating experiences that I've ever been in, and I do not wish it on anyone. So please be careful as to how you move around. Do not wear anything flashy. Do not draw attention to yourselves. Also, just watch your surroundings, especially in touristy areas that are known for robbery and theft. If anything, carry around with you a fanny pack, or just store your items in safer locations, like an inside jacket pocket, or just hold it. Takes me on to the next step, which actually saved me. I know you're probably thinking, Naya, how does one come out of losing their mobile phone and their wallet in one trip? Well, luckily for me, I'm super social and I love meeting new people, and I had some friends who I met in LA at the time, and they were actually able to help me get back on my feet for the rest of the trip. They were super friendly. I love them. So yeah, make sure that you guys are socializing, especially if you're a woman, connect with other women who are also in the same situation as you, because you will meet them, okay? You will need people who support you, and I'm okay with the idea, also having friendships, especially if you come from the same countries or places that I guess are familiar to you. However, as a woman, connect with other women. We only have each other in this world. Not every man thinks the same, and men are largely unpredictable. So of course, stick in packs where you can. So a great way to do this, I met these women through a trip that I was doing, was a Trek America trip, and they actually happened to be British girls, and I connected with them. Now, another great way to meet people while you're traveling is to join Facebook groups. I always make sure that I find good communities of the place that I'm visiting before I actually go there. That way I know some people to see, I know there's a community out there for me. Even if you are an introvert, there are even groups for introverts when you're traveling places. For example, when I was in Bali, we had like a whole home introvert group, which was so fun because I was busy at work all the time. I couldn't really socialize. However, I still was able to connect women from all around the world just by sharing memes online. It was actually really silly, but I made some lasting friendships, and something that I would definitely recommend for people who are a little bit more shy. But even if you are shy, put yourself out there, because everyone is in the same boat as you. Throw yourself into new opportunities, go to as many events as you can, especially if you're a digital nomad or a solo traveler. That is the only way you're going to make friends, and once you get your feet wet, it just becomes easier after that. So definitely socialize as much as you can. I think meeting new people is definitely one of the biggest highlights about solo traveling. So try and do that as much as possible. But yeah, this video is running on a little bit long. I have been solo traveling for about 3-4 years right now. So if you guys do want more information, make sure you guys do subscribe or like this video, as I will be making a part 2, and I will leave it in the link below. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want any more resources on solo travel, again, they are in my link. And yeah, please don't be scared of seeing the world. If anything's holding you back, trust me, just jump. You will forever regret not doing so. You only have this moment and right now, so make the most out of it and live life without any